Q. So let's have my screen sharing.
Dr. Kenny just popped on.
Okay, Dr. Kenny. Okay, wonderful. Well, thank you guys very, very much for joining us today on our Monday session of Why We Are Sick. Let me share my screen and we'll get on with this. Okay, my name is Dr. Dieter, and I'm a board certified internist as well as pediatrician. And I have taken a passionate um, position in what we call reversible metabolic diseases, why we are sick today. And I'll start by asking us a simple question. Why are we so sick today? And the answer is simpler than you think, much simpler than you think. The reason we are sick today is because we eat in ways that harm our body's natural biology. Food is supposed to be medicine or it can be poison. And unfortunately, for most of us, food is poison. We eat in a way that has affected two key systems in our body. And what are those two key systems? Those two key systems are how the body makes energy and how the gut functions. So these two entities, entity one, how the body makes energy, and entity two, how the gut functions, are the reasons why we are sick today in modern society. So I want to take entity one and give you a connection to why we are sick, and entity two and give you a connection to why we are sick. Let's start with entity one, how the body makes energy. See, our body makes energy dependent on a hormone called insulin. Insulin is a very, very critical hormone in the body. In fact, I call insulin the CEO of the body. When insulin is working well, all the functions of the body occur smoothly. CEO, Chief Operating Officer, the most important hormone for our existence. Why is that? Because of its job. And the job of insulin is to move glucose out of the blood into the cell. You see, when we eat, the end product of absorption is the release of glucose into the blood. Whatever calories we eat, end product will be glucose release. Insulin's job is to mobilize that glucose out of the blood into the cell, right in the cell. When that glucose is mobilized into the cell, there is a special organelle in the cell called the mitochondria. Okay, it is just an energy factory. In the mitochondria, the glucose is shunted or put into the mitochondria, and the glucose goes through the energy factory through what we call in biochemistry a complex series of reactions called the electron transport chain with and then it spits out an energy molecule called ATP. ATP stands for adenosine triphosphate, and that is simply an energy molecule. So that is how insulin secures the body's energy needs. Now, you have to understand every cell in the body requires energy to function. Every single cell. That is why insulin is the CEO of the body, because insulin dictates energy production. Without insulin, the cells cannot function. The smallest entity of the body is a cell. Cells group up to form tissues, which group up to form organs, which group up to form systems, and the system forms the whole man. So every single cellular entity in the body requires energy, and insulin makes sure it gets that energy that it needs. Now, I want you guys to understand this, that when a cell doesn't have the energy that it needs to function, it doesn't function, it malfunctions. So, the simplest definition of a disease It's a group of cells, tissues, organs, or system that has stopped functioning well because it doesn't have the energy it needs. Now, when there is a breakdown in this process of insulin securing the body's energy needs, we call the breakdown in that process insulin resistance. Insulin is no longer able to secure the body's energy needs. Insulin resistance. Now, I want you guys to understand that it's just as insulin resistance is just a simple way to say that this process is kaput. This process doesn't, it's not occurring well. And why is that? Because we were created perfectly and wonderfully. So how do you go from insulin working well as a CEO of the body to imperfection? And the answer lies in the fact that in modern day society, we are consuming an excess amount of calories. We're consuming about 35% more calories than our ancestors did. Just to put that in context, ladies and gentlemen, in a single can of a soda, they say there is more sugar in a single can of a soda than you and I, our ancestors, would have consumed their whole life. So we are consuming 35% more calories today, than our ancestors did. And insulin is having to work over time, 35% over time, doing this job. Now, there are two ways in which you develop this breakdown in insulin not working well. The insulin resistance, two ways, and I'm going to depict it like this. The very first way is having the accumulation of too much fat in the cell. You see, a cell is normally supposed to look like this, okay? A normal cell should look like that. Now, when a cell looks like that and there is glucose released in the blood, insulin could mobilize that glucose out of the blood, into the cell. It has all the space. But when we consume 35% more calories than we're supposed to, every time the body takes in more calories than it needs, the body takes those excess calories. The body takes those excess calories and converts those excess calories into fat. Okay. And the body doesn't know what to do with that excess fat and it lumps it up in the cell. So a normal cell is supposed to look like this. When we consume excess calories, all those excess calories that the body doesn't need, the body converts it into fat and takes that fat and lumps that fat into the cell. This cell now becomes pregnant with fat, okay? And when the cell is fat laden like this, when you have glucose in the blood and insulin comes and knocks at the door of this cell to say, hey, I got glucose, take it up, run it through the energy factory and spit out energy. And this cell says, what, are you kidding? Don't you see that I'm pregnant with fat? I don't have any room in the inn. If I were to bring glucose in, glucose will have no place to lay his head. I'm sorry, the innkeeper refuses to open its doors. When the innkeeper, the cell, refuses to open its doors at the knocking of insulin to bring glucose in, if glucose cannot get into the cell, it cannot run it through the energy factory to produce energy. The cell is now in trouble. It lacks energy. Now, that's the first way in which we develop insulin resistance, what I call too much fat buildup. And that too much fat buildup is coming from excess calories. Now, that leads to the second way in which we develop insulin resistance, what I call too much insulin. Have you guys ever heard of too much of a good thing is a bad thing? Too much insulin will show you just exactly how that is. You see, when this cell is fat laden and is unable to open its doors to glucose, glucose is going to accumulate in the blood. That accumulation of glucose in the blood, I want you guys to understand that there is a one-to-one relationship between the concentration of glucose in the blood and the amount of insulin produced by the pancreas. High glucose, the pancreas has to match it with high insulin. So because this glucose cannot get into the cell, it accumulates in the blood. It now triggers the pancreas to produce too much insulin. And too much insulin, guys, is no bueno to the cell or the body. Remember, I described insulin as the CEO of the body, Chief Operating Officer, hormone numero uno that dictates smooth functioning of the body. Imagine a CEO. Let's say you work for a corporation or a company and you have your boss man, the CEO. He normally runs the company with a smooth head, cool and causing the company to function well. And one day your boss comes to work and he's gone off. He's acting like a tyrant and a bully, coming to your desk yelling at you for no good reason, saying you're going to do things my way or the highway, giving you unreasonable demands, fire some of your colleagues for no good reason. He went from being level headed to going off. What's going to happen to you when you have a boss like that? You're going to lose your respect for the boss. When you, as an employee, when you lose your respect for your boss, it becomes hard for you to do what your boss asks you to do when you've lost your respect for the boss. You translate that to the cell. When insulin is running high too much, insulin has gone from being a gentle CEO to being a tyrant and a bully to the cell, bullying the cell, yelling at the cell. The cell doesn't take kindly to that tyrannical behavior, and the cell loses its respect for insulin. When the cell loses its respect for insulin, the cell is not excited to do what insulin asks the cell to do. When insulin now tells the cell, open your doors this wide so that I can let glucose into the cell, out of loss of respect, reluctantly opens its doors only this wide. Because the cell opens its doors this wide, less glucose enters the cell and more glucose accumulates in the blood. Less glucose entering the cell means lesser energy will be produced, and more glucose will accumulate in the blood. That actually worsens the situation and causes the pancreas to produce even more insulin. So it's like going from a situation from fry pan to fire. A boss who was crazy at this level and raises their craziness to that level. That's what happens going from here to here. So that's how you develop insulin resistance. And at the helm of developing insulin resistance is the consumption of more calories. And you and I, our ancestors did. Now, when you have insulin resistance, it now causes an energy deficiency, which then results in disease entities like this: high blood pressure, heart disease, cancer, PCOS, fatty liver. All these disease entities are coming as a result of the shortage of energy, insulin resistance. So, unfortunately, this slide is not large enough to be able to encompass all the diseases that come as a result of insulin resistance. I'm going to, let's see, my video seems to be pausing here. Can you guys hear me just fine?
You're good, brother. Yes, sir.
Okay, wonderful. The video feed just seems to be slower. No big deal. As long as you guys can hear me just fine, that is wonderful. That is great. So, so when you now have insulin resistance, you have a deficiency of energy. That deficiency of energy now results in all these disease entities. Let's talk about the second reason why we are sick today, how the gut functions. And the function of the gut depends on the population of bacteria in the gut. You see, our gut is like our second brain. It plays a very, very important role in our health. And you may not know it, but in the gut is a population of about 30 to 100 trillion bacteria that have a special name called the microbiome. And they live in a 50-50% proportion. 50% of this bacteria in the gut are what we call good bacteria. And the other 50% of the bacteria in the gut are what we call bad bacteria. This proportion is important for the health of the gut balance. And the gut performs multiple different functions that rides on the health of the bacteria in the gut. I want to highlight one important function of our gut, which is to help to shape and regulate our immune system. 70% of the body's immune system resides in the gut, and the other 30% resides in the bone marrow, the lymph nodes, the lymphatic. The immune system is our defense line, okay? The immune system is our defense line. It's supposed to protect us against what is a perceived threat. What is a threat? Now, when the gut is healthy, the immune system does its job well. It protects us against harm. When the gut is not healthy, instead of the immune system protecting us, the immune system becomes our enemy. It turns its assault on us. And when that happens, you develop autoimmune diseases. On this slide are other functions of the gut, but I wanted to home on that important function. Now, there is something we call gut imbalance. What is gut imbalance? It's a scenario where the bad bacteria in the gut outnumber the good bacteria, where you lose that 50-50% proportion. So the bad bacteria may now go to increase in number to say 70% at the expense of the good bacteria that decrease to 30%. And this imbalance is as a result of a shortage of food. But wait a minute, Doc. You just said that we are consuming 35% more calories. What do you mean then by the shortage of food? Well, it's a specific kind of food that we have in shortage today. Fiber. Fiber. You see, these organisms that live in our gut thrive on fiber. Every living organism, it doesn't matter if it's your cat, your dog, uh, uh, a lion in the jungle, or bacteria in the gut, needs nutrients to survive. And the food for the bacteria in the gut is fiber. And our foods today, unfortunately, are so processed, we are not consuming enough fiber. And because we are not consuming enough fiber, the good and bad bacteria don't have enough food to eat. A man is supposed to consume at least 38 grams of fiber a day. A woman should consume at least 25 grams of fiber a day. The NIH estimates that the average man and woman in the United States is consuming a shameful 10 to 12 grams of fiber a day. That's less than 50% of the required daily amount. You and I, our ancestors, were consuming anywhere from 80 to 90 grams of fiber a day. And now when you have the shortage of fiber, survival of the fetus sets in. Every time there's shortage, there's a crisis. When there's a crisis, there's survival of the fetus. In the survival of the fetus fight, the bad bacteria are the stronger bacteria. They win that tussle. And when they win that tussle, what they do is they hoard the little food that is there to themselves after winning the fight. And they don't say to themselves, you know what, guys? We don't have enough food for us, the bad guys and the good guys. So let's do this. Let's increase our army so we could keep a monopoly on this food. And so they increase their army at the expense of the bad bacteria, gut imbalance. And when you have gut imbalance, it compromises the functions of the gut. And when that happens, you start developing disease entities that are the result of gut imbalance. On this slide, you will see a lot of autoimmune diseases. It's where the immune system, instead of protecting you, has now turned its back on you. Lupus, an autoimmune disease. Hashimoto's an autoimmune disease. MS, an autoimmune disease. Celiac, an autoimmune disease. Colon cancer is now strongly linked to gut imbalance, and sitting at the helm of it is the deficiency of fiber. Now, I want to highlight these two disease entities at the bottom right here, anxiety and depression, because Some of you guys may find it surprising that what? Anxiety and depression related to the gut. But the biology makes sense, guys. There is a hormone we call serotonin. Serotonin is what we call a happy hormone, a mood hormone. It maintains our mood and happiness. 90% of that hormone is produced in the gut. The other 10% is produced in the central nervous system. You see, in medical school, I thought that all of serotonin was produced in the brain. No, no, no. So when the gut is unhealthy, the factory that makes the bulk of the product cannot put out its product. The body is now reliant on only 10% of serotonin. Of course, you're going to have anxiety and depression. So that is how these two entities, how the body makes energy and how the gut functions, are the cause of our modern day diseases today. Now, in as much as these are the cause of our modern day diseases today, there is an overabundance of science today, which is hopeful, that says that if we could go back and restore the way the body makes energy and restore the balance of the gut, these two things that cause our modern day diseases, if we can restore those two things, then the disease conditions that came as a result of that go poof. Because these two things, what they do is they cause a energy crisis or an energy shortage in the body. And I like to put it this way. Think about you driving in a car and the car runs out of gas. That car's gonna stop. It stops because it has run out of its energy source, the fuel source, not because of an intrinsic failure of the engine. If you were to go to a gas station and bought gas in a gallon and went back to your car on the side of the road and put gas back in that tank, that car starts again. It roars back to life. In fact, the last time I ran out of gas, in my late 30s or my early 30s, when I restored or put gas back in my tank, I never had the apprehension, oh, is this car gonna start again? No, because I knew it's probably, the thought never crossed my mind. So it is with the body, guys. It is so simple, but so profound. These diseases we face today in modern day society are the result of an energy shortage coming from this. If you could restore that energy shortage, those diseases go away. And I want to now introduce to you a solution that has become a very favorite tool of mine to help patients to be able to reverse the energy problem, the insulin resistance, and reverse the gut imbalance. It's called the Feel Great System. These two products are 100% plant-based products called nutraceuticals. And what they do is they use a science-backed approach of intermittent fasting and fiber supplementation to reverse the insulin resistance and the gut imbalance. I want to start with this very first product called Unamate. It's made from a plant that is native to South America called the yerba mate plant. The thing that is peculiar about this plant is that it is very rich in a special phytonutrient called chlorogenic acid. Chlorogenic acid is an important polyphenol. Polyphenols play a very important role in our metabolic health, very important role. And one of the intrinsic properties of the chlorogenic acid is that, number one, it helps with fat burning. And you're going to see how that plays into reversing this issue. And number two, it helps in fasting. So we're going to use the science of fat burning and of intermittent fasting as well as fiber supplementation to reverse these two things. So why is the fat burning property of chlorogenic acid important? It is important because of the way you developed insulin resistance. Remember, the first way in which you developed insulin resistance was too much fat because of excess calories consumed. So when you consume the Unamate, which I have here, by the way, both of these products come in powder forms. They're found in the PDR, Physician's Desk Reference. I am drinking a solution of it. Now, when you consume the Unamate, because of the fat burning property of this, it goes to this cell that was filled with fat and begins to burn the fat in the cell. When it begins to burn the fat in the cell, that cell now can go from looking like that, to now going back to status quo, looking like a normal cell. When that cell now looks like a normal cell because fat burning has occurred, the glucose that had accumulated in the blood, you now have all this space that is now freed up. That glucose now enters the cell. When that glucose enters the cell, it can go through the energy factory to produce energy, restoring the energy shortage. And as a result, that takes care of this first way in which you developed insulin resistance. Too much fat crowding the cell that the innkeeper could not open its doors to let glucose in. So now when that happens, all the glucose gets into the cell. What happens is it causes the concentration of glucose in the blood to drop down. Remember what I said about the one-to-one relationship between glucose concentration and insulin production? When the amount of glucose in the blood now drops, a text message is sent to the pancreas to tell the pancreas, hey, we no longer have need for you to be producing too much insulin. Please produce a low amount of insulin. The pancreas gets the memo, and the pancreas now produces a low amount of insulin. A low amount of insulin is like the CEO that was crazy that had gone off. He now comes down to earth. He comes one day to work. He calls an in-service to his employees. Hey guys, I've been a jerk for the last 2 months. I'm so sorry. I said things and did things and treated you in ways that I should not have. I am sorry. Please forgive me. Wow. The boss came to me, a nobody, and asking me to forgive him, for wrongs he did to me. The employee is stunned, touched by that humility of the boss coming down to earth to say, I'm sorry I wronged you. And when your boss comes to you like that and gives you that kind of apology, when you're touched, you forgive your boss and you regain your respect back for your boss. When your boss now tells you, Gilmore, jump, you say, how high, boss? You want to jump for that boss now because you have regained your respect back for the boss. You translate that to the cell. When insulin is now running low, insulin has now assumed a humble predisposition, coming to the cell and saying, my bad, I've been a bully, please forgive me. The cell is forgiving. It regains its respect back for insulin. And when insulin says, open your doors this wide so that I can let glucose in, the cell says, roger that, I'll do it. It opens its doors this wide. More glucose in, more energy is produced. So that's how the Unamate helps to reverse the energy problem by solving checkpoint 1 and checkpoint 2, the ways by which we develop insulin resistance. And it also helps you in fasting because it causes the body to produce the hormone glucagon-like peptide 1. Fasting is very important in us resting our insulin. Our ancestors ate a meal and a half a day. That's why they were not consuming 35% more calories. One of the ways in which we can get our insulin to working well is making sure that we're not overworking it. And so we recommend on this protocol that people should eat 2 meals a day and fast for at least 16 hours. And what this does when you're fasting, it produces this hormone that goes to the hunger center of your brain, keeps the hunger center of your brain quiet. When you're fasting, your insulin becomes more and more sensitive to do its job well. Now, that is how that product, the Unimate, helps to reverse the energy problem. The second product in the protocol is a product called Balance. Balance is simply fiber. And Balance also helps to reverse the energy problem in the same way as this. Balance causes fat burning, so it causes this cell to go from this to this. And as a result, takes care of checkpoint one. When checkpoint one issue is taken care of, a drop in glucose causes low insulin, takes care of checkpoint two. Exactly the same mechanism. But the other thing that fiber does is that fiber also helps to humble your insulin, to keep the CEO humble. How does it do that? You see, when you consume food that is rich in fiber, it causes your blood sugar not to go up. When you consume food that does not have fiber, there is a fast digestion of that food that causes your blood sugar to go up. Let me put it this way. If you and I went to a restaurant to have dinner and you had a plate of lasagna, had a plate of lasagna, exactly the same plate. Lasagna is a high carbohydrate meal. Fiber decreases carbohydrate absorption. If that's you and you had a plate of lasagna without fiber, your blood sugar will do this. And that blood sugar for you may be a blood sugar 160. For me, I know a thing or two about fiber, that it decreases, I'm sorry here, that it decreases carbohydrate absorption. I consume that and then I eat the same amount of lasagna you did. My blood sugar is going to do this. That blood sugar for me may be a blood sugar of 80. What is the significance of this? Because you have produced a blood sugar of 160, your pancreas is going to have to produce a commensurate high amount of insulin to address that blood sugar, maybe 20 units. For me, because I produced a blood sugar of 80, my pancreas is going to produce a commensurate lower amount of insulin, maybe 5 units. I want you to think about 20 units of insulin as the crazy CEO that the employees did not respect. And I want you to think about 5 units of insulin as a humble CEO. That's what fiber does, to your insulin. And that's important in keeping insulin working well. And by so doing, it also helps to keep reverse insulin resistance. And the last thing is that fiber is food for the gut to reverse the gut imbalance. Remember, we develop gut imbalance because of the deficiency of fiber, which caused this lopsided proportion. You now begin to feed the bacteria with the nutrients that it needs. There's now enough food for the good and bad bacteria. It stops the in-house fighting and you restore the 50-50% proportion. The functions of the gut that then rely on that 50-50% proportion kick in now. And so I'll end by saying this. If you suffer from any chronic modern day illness today, some of them may be on this slide, some of them may not be on the slide. Chances are that those modern day illnesses are the result of the two things we talked about. How the body makes energy and how the gut functions. And I make you this bold statement that the Feel Great system can help you to be able to reclaim your health again. Thank you very, very much, Dr. Kenny. I'm going to hand this over to you to take it from there. Thank you.
Thank you, brother. Someone was asking Dr. Dieter too, and we'll have you extrapolate on this, brother. Thank you for an amazing presentation as always. But there was a lady asking if she said one of her diabetic friends that fast, their blood sugar goes up. And yes, initially it absolutely can. The patient wouldn't even know that if they weren't wearing a CGM or measuring their blood sugar. Because as Dr. Dieter just taught, when you drop insulin, which is what the protocol does, your fat storage, your liver, your tissues start dumping sugar back in the bloodstream. And this is why it goes up. And your body would just pee more frequently to get rid of it. So medically, they would have you take something to shove it back into your cells, which is why you stay diabetic. So
and I want to add something there. when you start reversing insulin resistance, all the fat in your liver has to be broken down. You see, fatty acid is a combination of three triglycerides and a glycerol molecule. So when you start reversing insulin resistance, that when that fat is broken down, it's broken down into fatty acids and three triglycerides. The fatty acids go into the making ketones that you're gonna burn for energy. The glycerol, backbone of the fat, is now taken through the process of gluconeogenesis by the liver, to convert that glycerol into glucose. Now, what happens is normally that glucose should be taken up by your muscle, but your muscle is still insulin resistant. So that glucose, which is the result of you releasing the excess fat from the tissues, and you're making the byproduct of glycerol, which is being converted in glucose. So I tell people, when you start taking this protocol and you notice that your blood sugars have transiently worsened, that's a very good thing to show that the process is working. We are breaking down the excess fat that caused the insulin resistance, and fat is made up of glycerol as well as three fatty acids. The glycerols get converted into glucose. It is part of the sequence of reversing the insulin resistance. I've had to address this in a couple of people, and lo and behold, in a period of about 4 weeks or so, their blood sugars have been beautiful. So let that be reassurance and let that not make you worried.
Thank you, Dr. Dieter. I was telling someone else, and this may help from a metaphorical standpoint. Have you ever seen a house that has a hoarder? Somebody just hoards everything. And when you start this protocol, it's like you open the front door and you shove all the stuff that was inside the hoarding and you're throwing it outside. And so that's kind of what Dr. Dieter's explaining about that. So this was my story, right? So this was me 2 years ago, February 26th. So as he was explaining, when insulin and blood sugar stays high, you create glycation in the body, you age faster, your joints hurt. I couldn't sleep on my right shoulder. I ended up in the hospital for almost 2 months and nearly died from what I'm sharing with you and Dr. Dieter just put through. Now, after this was 35 days of resetting insulin, detoxing the liver. And if someone was asking, is the balance, is the fiber a prebiotic? Yes, absolutely. That's what it does. And this is why inflammation starts to come down. This is why fatty liver goes away. It went away in my case. My sleep apnea is gone. My chronic inflammation is gone. Testosterone's back. This is a diabetic foot ulcer of our friend here, Keith. And I want you guys to take a good look at this because this is happening on his outside. Imagine what's happening on the inside of a diabetic patient. Now, if you saw this husband and wife here, if they were your friends or family and you saw them looking like this, and within a month or two, you saw them looking like the picture on the left, would you ask them, what are you doing? That's the power of this protocol. People come to you and ask. And if you would ask those questions, just put a question mark in the chat. Now, this is a gentleman who's never touched alcohol in his life. He was diagnosed with fatty liver, non-alcoholic fatty liver disease. He had triple-digit high blood pressure numbers, both systolic, diastolic, and he told me that he had sleep apnea so bad he would wake up his next-door neighbors. This was him in a matter of months at 67 years young, and all of those medical conditions under managed care are gone. This was managed care. This is the protocol Dr. Dieter just shared with you. This is our own stud right here, Dr. Dieter. I had him beat. I was definitely fluffier, weighed a couple more lbs, but this was him. And Dr. Dieter, this is 6 years of intermittent fasting, running 2 to 3 times a week long distance. Can I ask everyone, does everybody on here understand, does everyone realize that our food is not as nutrient dense today as it was 50 years ago? Is that safe to say?
Yes.
So Dr. Dieter added the nutrients back in from the protocol that the food companies have taken out. This was him 2 months using the tea and the fiber. That's the difference. And he didn't run in these 2 months. That's the difference when you give your body what it needs to heal the gut and reset insulin. Now, this is my friend Colleen. Colleen was a type 2 diabetic. I don't remember how many years under managed care, but she also was on cholesterol meds, all kinds of things. This is her a year apart. Look at the difference in her complexion. Her type 2's gone. She's on 1/4 of a thyroid medication in this photo. Now, this is another autoimmune case. This beautiful lady, Deb, right here, was a size 12, gut dysbiosis, as Dr. Dieter explained, insulin resistant, size 4 and 7 months. Her IBS is gone. Her allergies are gone, again, driven by gut damage. This is Angelita, a nurse practitioner that was referred to this protocol by the lady that brought Dr. Dieter in, who's another pediatrician, a good friend of his, Dr. Natasha, who had IBS, which is gone. But Angelita was struggling, as Dr. Dieter showed you, with anxiety and depression, GERD. She was on 6 medications a day as a nurse practitioner. And in 10 days, got off 5 of those meds and one for antidepressant. And this is her today. That's 2 children. Look at the difference. Now, this is her husband. He is a pharmacist. He actually creates drugs for a living. This is Dr. Nanye, and I call this Dr. GQ on the protocol. This right here is another diabetic foot ulcer. This is my friend John, who was under managed care for 25 years. This is a month and 9 days, guys. He reversed his type 2 in 1 month. This is Keith's progression, $180,000 in hyperbaric chamber. Didn't even heal it. That's 3.5 months on this protocol. Chopper, an 8-year diabetic, PTSD. This is Chopper. This was, I think it was 3 weeks. 3 weeks to reverse type 2 diabetes. I don't remember how far apart the pictures are. I don't want to misspeak. Pastor Chris, this is him, managed care. This is him, the protocol. We have more, and this is, look at this, Mary. Mary is a gastric sleeve patient. And gastric sleeve patients within 5 years gain all the weight back. Why? Now, obviously, their stomach's smaller. They're eating less calories, right? They can't have the same amount to put in the stomach. And yet they tell them to eat 5 to 6 meals a day. Now, every time you eat food, you can ask any diabetic, your blood sugar goes up. And if your blood sugar goes up, does your insulin have to go up? And insulin tells your body to insulate, to store. This was Mary. Look at Mary's face here. This is Mary on the protocol. And I'm going to have you guys share. I actually have a special guest tonight, Linda, and I think maybe we're going to have Keith, Dr. D, that's your call and who do you like to share. But if you can highlight Linda, I would love Linda to share because she's got some interesting things I think that people can kind of glean from this. And Linda, welcome. And it was crazy. I was in Montreal. Dr. Dieter, we were in Montreal speaking, and this beautiful lady had just started the protocol, and she drove from Quebec City to see us, and I had already fallen. I turned into a pumpkin too early. But
I remember.
Linda, please, I would love to hear from you.
Well, hello, good evening, everybody. Can you hear me?
Yes,
Yes,
ma'am.
we could hear you well. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Well, yeah, I started the protocol in July, at the beginning of July, and it was a chance that I fell upon Dr. Kenny on TikTok. My children had introduced me to TikTok just a few months earlier, and I was scrolling and I came across Dr. Kenny. And I am a person that had bariatric surgery also. And as you said, they told me to eat 6 times a day in small quantities, starting my breakfast with oats, honey, and toast.
Yeah.
And the
All
rest
the
was
best.
up to me.
Yeah.
So I did that. I had lost a little bit of weight, but then a year and a half or so later, I was gaining everything back. Now I'm going on 67 years of age, and I was sort of like, how do I get to lose weight? Because, getting older, you don't move as much and you don't do things as much. So I was like thinking I'm going to get just fatter and fatter and fatter. And at one point, I'm not going to be able to move because I already had a lot of joint pain and trouble to walk and trouble to get up. I used to tell my children, "Hey, give me a second there. I got to unfold before I can walk." So I would get up like that. I also had a lot of eczema. I still have some, as you can see on my eye. I still have some, a little bit on my hands, but it's going away because I had it all over my body, all over my face. I was red, like all over. But now it's really, it's going away slowly, and I'm really happy about that. Uh, as I said, I had joint pain to the point I could hardly walk. I would take maybe 5 minutes of walking and then I'd have to sit down. It couldn't get any worse, I think. But with the protocol, after I think it was about a month, the joint pain started to go away, and I was starting to walk a little further and a little further. Today, I walk 3K a day, and I
Wow.
have no joint pain. I don't run,
Wow.
but I walk.
Okay.
Um, what?
Linda, you said something earlier. You signed, and you said you
Yeah,
thought you were going to have to retire, right? Would you explain that
yeah,
to people? Like,
yeah. I'm a sign language interpreter, so it's important that my hands work very well. So, yeah, I had so much joint pain in my wrist, in my hands, and like spelling. I do LSQ, which is the French Sign Language, because I'm a French person. Um, and there's the ASL, which is the English Sign Language. And in ASL, they do a lot of hand spelling. I do less hand spelling, but I do some. So, like Linda, as you can see, my movements have to be fluid, and they weren't. I was doing that. So that wasn't very good. So I was like thinking, okay, let's retire because this is not working out. And well, I have a son also that's very ill. He was very ill. He's getting better now. And so I'm taking his rent, I'm paying his rent, and I'm paying my rent, and I'm paying his food and my food, and so the expenses are really, really heavy. And if I stop working, it's like
Linda,
I would have a problem.
I'm sorry to interrupt you. Like your son, I mean, would you mind to share like what this has done for him? Because there's so many people that struggle with that. If you wouldn't mind going into that.
Yeah, my son was born with one kidney, and while I was pregnant, his cortex was squashed because his urine wasn't able to come out, and it broke down. And when he was born, he only had 50% function in his kidney. So landed, to make a long story very short, at the age of 19, um, he decided to stop listening to mom and go and eat hot dogs, hamburgers, and all the rest. And he said, "The heck, I'm tired of all this," because I really kept him on a tight leash, as they say. And so his kidney just went downhill. And at one point, he was landed at 3% function. So they put him on dialysis. He was on dialysis for 5 years, and his kidney was like it wasn't working. And then he got the chance to get a kidney. He had a transplant, and while he was on dialysis, he developed epilepsy. So he has epileptic pills to take, and he has the anti-reject pills to take now. And he started taking the protocol, and they found out that his old kidney increased in function, which in turn um, filtered too much of his meds out. So we started having epileptic seizures. So right now they're trying to balance it all out. They're still looking for the correct balance, but he doesn't mind because he said, at least now, he says, I do have epileptic seizures. However, I can go out and I can live a normal life. I can like look for a girlfriend. I can, go to school whenever I want. I don't have to do like before where I had to be in my room at 8 o'clock at night to be on the machine till 8 o'clock the next morning. So
Wow.
he's
So is he on dialysis?
not anymore. He had a kidney
What?
transplant. He had a
Okay.
kidney transplant, and his old kidney now is functioning. So the filtering is really getting done, and he now is trying to get the epileptic seizures under control. But he is now going to school, going to work, and he's like 30 years old, and he's like starting to live like a 19-year-old. So it's I'm happy about that.
As a mother, Dr. Dieter knows any doctor, Dr. Tiffany, like I used to see so many patients, if they had a health challenged child, it always ended up with mom, right? And you guys never sleep the same way. I mean, it's wow, what a blessing. So,
I really am grateful for the product because it's helped me immensely, and I see it's helped my son a lot. And we haven't finished, like we still have a little bit of things to do to get 100%, but it is wonderful. It is a godsend. It's a gift. That's all I can say. It's a gift from heaven.
Right.
Dr. Dieter, I want to so Linda too, I know Dr. Dieter does these calls all the time. And you said something to me that really made me think that I want everyone to on here to hear. Because I go live every day and I teach every day, like Dr. Dieter and some of the other doctors on here. What has that meant to you? Would you share what you shared with us earlier?
It keeps the positivity um because I'm surrounded with a lot of negativity. My family and my surroundings, they're not able to see the nice things in life. Life is hard, but with this family, it's like everything's positive, everything's nice, and it just uplifts me, and I need it. It's like a drug for me now. I really need it because when I like you were gone away for a bit there, and I was like, okay, well, what am I gonna do now? But I was really happy to see you back, and it was fun.
Thank you so much, Linda. Thank you for
Thank,
Thank
sharing. We're so
thank,
blessed to have you.
thank
thank you
you.
for having me.
Thank you very, very much, Linda. I am glad to that you're on here to be able to share your testimony with us. I want to highlight
Thank you.
somebody in the chat. Thank you again, Linda, who I think Sarah, we're going to highlight you. If you could turn your camera on and we'll spotlight you.
I'm here.
Okay, wonderful. You say you
Yeah,
want to share um,
yeah,
because you've been on this for 3 days and you like to
yeah,
share testimony. So
yeah.
you have the floor, Sarah. Tell us
Thank you
what has
so much.
happened.
Though I won't take much of your time, and I'm jumping again in a meeting in 5 minutes. Um, I've been struggling with severe hunger. Even if I eat after two hours, every 2 hours that hunger will come. You know that hunger where if you don't put any food in your mouth, you start like nauseated, you start like spitting, that kind of hunger. So I called my doctor and she gave me an appointment on tomorrow. Sorry. That's for my other meeting. So the doctor gave me the appointment on 3rd March. I called her on 20th of February. So there's a lady whom I call like my sister, Florence Kasonde, and she's always checking on me. And then she said, "How are you feeling?" I said, Florence, the hunger that I'm having, I'm tired of eating. Even in the night, this hunger will wake me up in the night, every 2 hours. I have to put in something. If I don't eat anything, I'm in trouble. Very painful. So now she introduced me to this protocol, and I ordered from Charity, Pastor Charity, and she sent it to me, and I started it on the 26th of August. 26, I started the protocol. And on Saturday, I was waiting for that hunger, whereby your brain tells you, are you not waiting? Are you not going to feel the same? I was waiting for it, nothing. I waited 4 hours, nothing. I slept very well. It never woke me up to today. How many days? From 26, right? I'm feeling so good. I'm like, what's this? God, what a miracle. I'm so super excited. Right now, I just had one meal. My sugar levels have been monitoring 103 when I just started. And again, after eating, I had 126. Before eating, I did it 119. Today it was at 98. I'm monitoring every time. And tomorrow I'm meeting my doctor. I don't know what to tell her because I'm feeling good. 26, and today is 2nd.
Wow. 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 Sarah, we are so happy for you, and
Amen.
we happy to see that you're already experiencing a significant impact in your health just this short. And that's why we do this. A team of doctors, not just team of doctors, so many of us on this mission. Is this our mission to have stories like Linda's, like Sarah's, like Keith? We want to impact the lives of at least 100,000 people this year. And so when we hear your story and hear Linda's and her son and kids, it moves us that, this is a mission we need to continue doing. Thank you for your boldness to want to share this good news with us. Thank
Yeah,
you very much.
doctor, just a few days. I'm feeling this. I don't know what to expect because I also have like tingling on my right foot. I'm expecting it to go, and I'm praying over it. And God, this is a miracle. Just from 26, how many days? Those who know mathematics, I can't even count.
Yes.
The hunger is not there. I'm like, God. And not only that, I feel light. I feel light. When I look in the mirror, it's like I'm already like shedding some fat from my face. I look so beautiful. I look beautiful, I'm telling you.
Yeah.
Thank you so much. And
Thank
thank you for
you.
all you're doing.
Absolutely. Thank you. Dr.
Thank
Kenny, I'll
you.
hand it back to you. Thank you. If you want to
Yeah.
highlight somebody else or round us up, Dr. Kenny, I'll hand it back.
Linda has a question, it looks like, but yeah, I mean, and Jim, if you would, we're running long.
Yeah.
Jim's got a heck of Jim's been doing this longer than both of us. So, I mean,
Okay.
yeah,
Do you want to highlight Jim? We'll highlight
yeah,
him.
go ahead.
Hello, Jim. Let's.
Well, hi, doctors.
What's
Dr.
up,
Kenny,
brother?
Dr. Dieter. You guys are amazing. You guys are amazing, and these stories are amazing. That story, both of those were amazing. So, and it's kind of hard to follow that. I can tell you, you mentioned Amory is on this call, and I've known Amory for about 30 years, give or take. Been a long time. She went to high school with my wife. She was one of my bridesmaids, and she told us about this product and got me started on it. At the time, I had I was type 2 diabetic. I'd had a 12.2% A1C through the roof. I had awful cholesterol, 459 was my LDL, and I've heard multiple doctors say that was the highest number they'd ever had. I started this thing. I'm not going to lie. I totally thought it was a gimmick, but I'm totally skeptical. I think like everybody else is, because there's no way that something could be this easy. And almost overnight, I've kind of joked for the last few years that I think balance is the eighth great wonder of the world. If you have a glucose problem and you use balance, you will see your glucose just brings it down. It like so rapidly. The tea is amazing. I'm drinking my tea right now. I'm drinking the chocolate one right now. It's delicious.
That is a cheat code, isn't it?
It is an absolute cheat code. I'm drinking the fudge, and I mixed it with the cherry signal, and it tastes like a bonbon, and that's okay. Anyway, within 43 days, I was off my medications. My doctor took me off my medications for diabetes. I've not used any medications for diabetes since February 14th of 2023. So just crossed over 3 years. My A1C was 5.1 at my last doctor's appointment. I do wear a continuous glucose monitor, and I always like to show where I'm sitting at right now. That's my glucose right now. And that's my CGM. So, this product saved my life. It saved my life. It's the best thing on the planet. I owe my life. I owe my health to Anne-Marie Wetton and these products, and give these things a try. It's amazing. And you know, as if I haven't already said it to you enough, I appreciate both you guys, Dr. Kenny, Dr. Dieter. Dr. Dieter, the way that you describe this it's second to none. You make it so that everybody can understand what's going through your brilliant mind. And you make it so all of us, people who aren't medical doctors, can understand it. But I also want to point out, I always like to point out that Dr. Tiffany's on here, Dr. Natasha's on here, Dr. Esther's in here. I'm not sure that they're all in here.
Yeah.
There's
I think
a lot of people from the medical community.
Yeah, I think what I would like to do is bring on all those doctors at the end. We'll just add them to the spotlight, and we'll take Linda's question. But let's add them to the spotlight. Dr. Tiffany, Dr. Esther, if we have Dr. Esther on here tonight. I don't think, but we have Dr. Natasha.
Dr. Tiffany's like my sister from another mister.
Hey, Tim.
How are you, Dr. Tiffany?
I'm good. Hello, everyone.
I think we don't have Dr. Natasha on tonight, but
lots of medical people.
Yes. We were gonna take a question from Jim. Thank you for sharing your story.
Amazing. I feel like I'm not supposed to be here.
No. You are part of our team, and I have to reiterate that our mission collectively, all of us, is to impact the life of 100,000 people this year. Maybe next year we raise it up to 200,000 and keep going. So we are a team working together, doctors or not doctors, to do this. So thank you very much. I'm going to bring on Linda. You have a question to ask, and then maybe we'll have you ask your question, and we may have Dr. Tiffany answer the question, and then have Dr. Tiffany close us. Linda, the spotlight is yours. I think we need to have you unmute.
All right. Hi, everybody. It's Linda. I actually don't have a question. I was listening to Tanya, and I have been in this protocol for a month. And I decided to just share this with my family. And right now I have a cousin that wasn't doing so well mentally, and I'm just hearing really good things, and I just wanted to mention that, right? Personally, I've had issues with insulin and glucose. I'm going to be talking a lot about A1C and how insulin kind of goes up and down. Yeah, I am so sold out to this thing because I always tell people it's a protocol, it's a tool, right? You got to be able to do the lifestyle changes. I have done lifestyle changes, I have done things, but this has really been the that one tool you just need to kind of push you. It's been that, right? Food noise is real. And I'll say this, food noise is real. And what Unimate does is it lowers the carbs, the cravings, right? You're not always craving things. You're always low. So I just wanted to mention this. Like, if there's anybody out there, right, that is thinking this is hype, it is not hype, right? If you're intentional about your health, if you're intentional about really making a difference, it all starts with mindset. And that's why I love the science calls, because what they do is they break the science really well, easy for people to understand, and really understanding mindset change. So I'm in this to really help people and help families. And when it impacts your own life and the lives of your family, it takes a whole different trajectory. And just FYI, none of anybody here that was on this call did not know I was going to talk about this. But I was just like about 30 minutes ago, I was on a call with a friend, and they told me about somebody who's doing really well. Sorry about that. But it's really something that's making a difference in the lives of people. So remember, it's a tool. It's not a cure. But if you make the right choices, if you follow the product, if you let your digestive system rest, it will make a difference. All right, God bless you all.
Thank you. Thank you so much for sharing, Linda. Thank you very much. Yeah.
That's
Dr.
awesome.
Tiffany, let's introduce Dr. Tiffany to close us. Dr. Tiffany is a double board certified physician in family medicine and lifestyle medicine who saw the light. Dr. Tiffany, take it away and close us.
Yes, all the lights.
Why do you do this? And give us a closing.
Yes, yes, yes. Why do I do this? Because I decided I wanted to have an impact on the world and not just writing prescriptions. I wanted to see people live life better for real. And that was going to take more than taking a pill a day or 25 pills a day, right? And so once I came across these products, used them for myself, I was able to get off of my blood pressure medicine, less pills for me. I was able to get off my antidepressant, my diuretic for my skin, stop my hot flashes, actually saw my waistline come back. I was able to help my family members, my brother in the ICU, be able to get off of insulin, metformin, help my mom with MS and not have to drag her legs and wear her heels. And these are things that are quality of life things. These are things that I didn't get when I would see patients for 20 years. Mind you, I also saw patients across 48 states in the US. So when I tell you I know how sick people are, I know how sick people are. Unfortunately, I no longer want to keep seeing that. I no longer want to have to do what I did in residency or when I would work in a hospital like Dr. Dieter and have to walk into a room with people on machines and with tubes down their throat and through their nose, knowing I have a product that is actually having people turn the clock back on these conditions that are taking us out of here. So once you know that, once you see it, you can't unsee it. It's like the red pill. Now I'm lost in Wonderland, right? And I'm determined to help everybody I can. And not only do we get texts, I get to see people on the street, at home, at church, who are like, oh my gosh, I'm off of my insulin now because of you. Oh my gosh, I've lost 80 pounds because of you. I actually don't have to worry about getting an amputation like I was worried about. That's why I do what I do. And so if you are on this call, you're on here because somebody invited you, because one, they want to see your health better, or because they know you have an influence to impact more lives. And so if that is something you have a heart for, we are here. We want to link up. We want 1 million lives. Forget 100,000. We want 1 million.
Love
right?
it. Love it.
So we need people because it's going to take more than just the 3 of us, the 5, the 6 of us. We need as many people as we can, but we want to see people's lives change for real. And if you have that type of heart, you're on the right call. Join us on the next call on Sunday and then on Monday again. And we have some more calls if you want to hear some more, because we're for real about this mission.
Thank you so much. Thank you very much. Dr. Tiffany, you couldn't have given us a better reason as we leave here to join the mission. Thank you, Dr. Kenny, Dr. Tiffany, Linda, Jim Grasser, the other Linda, Sarah, all of you guys who contributed, and those of you who asked questions on the chat, and those of you who contributed to answers and everything. Thank you very much. Together, we could work together to be able to touch the lives of as many people. That's why we do this. We will hope to see you guys again on our next call. Bring a guest, bring a friend, bring a family member, bring somebody who is suffering and needs hope. We want to give them hope. Thank you and good night. If you want this recording, get with the person who invited you to this call tonight, and you can get the recording from them. Thank you and good night.